I thought it was going to be one of those long lectures and you'll fall asleep, but I was intrigued the whole time. Like, it just touched me, all the stories and everything.
No, I actually expected it to be like really boring and...
Well, when I first came here, I'm like, guest speakers, it's probably going to be, all bunk and everything. But
it was much more, I don't know, to our levels.
I thought it'd be really boring, but
I thought it was really good. It changed my way of thinking.
I expected some lady to kind of just talk to us about how sex is bad and gross and dirty and everything like that. But
they were really honest. I didn't expect people to be that open with people they'd never met in their life. And I guess the honesty made you believe it more.
Honestly, I thought it was going to be boring and not too much action.
So I thought I knew it all, but it turns out that there's always so much more you can learn. It was awesome.
I don't know, I thought it would be kind of boring and just the same old type of talk where they just rattle on you about it, but...
Well, I came here thinking that if it sucked, I was leaving in 15 minutes. And I'm going to leave here just being totally amazed at these people.
I don't know, it's just a lot of my friends that I know, it hit all of us, basically.
And I just want to thank them for doing such a good talk, because it touched me so much, and I can't even express how much my life is going to turn around after this.
What Luke and I are going to do is he and I are actually going to show you guys how far is too far to go on a date, okay? Now, and in order to do this, I'm going to be the guy, Luke is going to be the girl, okay? Now, Luke's not a very pretty girl, but that's okay. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. But we can change that. So we'll get Luke prettied up a little bit. So why don't you throw this on? Yeah, there you go. That's the front. It's a little nappy. You'll be pretty. There you go. That's frightening. Now I've actually never dated anyone named Luke before, so we're gonna give you a name change, and your name is gonna be Shanae, okay? So now Shanae and I, we decide to go for a date. So we go for a date at the Grand Canyon, right here. And I start thinking to myself, well, how far do you think I can get my beloved Shanae to the edge of the Grand Canyon without actually throwing him off the Grand Canyon? Him, her, it, whatever, but sorry. But there's only one way we can find out how far you can get to that edge, so I've got to pick you up into my arms, okay? All right, so hold on to this, hold on to me, and hold on tight. Hold on to Mike. Now, how far can we get to the edge? Can we go further?
That's far enough.
Okay. All right. Take a seat. Give him a hand. Good job, Luke. Thank you, bud. Good man. Now, what's the point of that whole deal? The point of that is basically this, that none of us guys would take a girl who we love to a dangerous place and say, well, how close can I get to killing her? Usually we don't ask, but when I was in high school, we'd always ask in our relationship, well, how far can you go? Should we do this together? He says, your talk was fun. He said, but can we get specific? I said, well, sure. And he goes, well, I want to know exactly how far I can go with my girlfriend. I said, well, that's a good question. What do you want to do with her? And he was like, uh-oh. I said, yeah, okay. I said, well, we're not in third grade. We can be specific, mature. What do you want to do? And he's like, cool. He's like, can we do this and this and this and this and this? And he goes through this list of sexual favors. And I said, well, okay, we'll slow down. Pick one. And he's like, okay. He goes, I got it. He goes, oral sex. Can we do that on a date? And I said, well, I'm going to have you answer your own question. And he's like, oh, good. And I said, well, do you want to get married one day? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to get married one day. I said, that's cool. So I said, so if you're going to get married one day, I said, that means that your future wife, your future bride, she's out there somewhere right now, isn't she? And for the first time in his 17-year life, he thought about his future wife. And he said, yeah, she's out there, cool. And I said, but let's say she doesn't live here in Chicago. Let's say she lives where I live in San Diego. School's just getting out right now, so she's coming home from class with her boyfriend, who's a guy that you are never going to meet around your future bride. And he's saying, baby girl, I love you so much. I'm always going to be here for you. Your eyes are so beautiful. And she's like, oh, you're so sweet. And he walks her home, and he sits her down on his couch, and he's like, hey, baby girl, you feeling fine? Because you looking fine. she's like, stop. And I said to the guy, I was like, dude, I go, you know what's going on that couch, don't you? And he was like, yeah. And I go, that guy? I said, that guy, he's emotionally manipulating your future bride into giving him oral sex, trying to make her think that if she gives him that, he'll like her more when he's just using her more. I go, does that bug you? And the guy was like, ooh, gross. No, I don't care. And I was like, really? Does it bug you at all? He looked at the floor and he's like, no, I don't care. And I go, what if it was going on right now as we speak? That guy doing that with the woman who will kiss your children goodnight. Does it bother you? The guy was like, the guy next to him in class was like, oh, I'd be ticked off. And the guy's like, what? I'm like, see, it's pretty easy. If you don't want some guy going there with your future wife, it's a good place to draw the line as well. And this is not for love of a girl. And as Christian guys, we only need to know one verse in the Bible to love women. It's out of Ephesians 5, and it just says, men, it says, you love your brides like Christ loved the church. You hand yourself over for her to sanctify her so she would be holy and without blemish. And it says that to do this, Jesus was praying in the agony in the garden, and his sweat became like drops of blood and fell onto the ground. A lot of you, I'm sure, go on to study medicine. You'll learn about this. It's called hematidrosis, which means under extreme stress, the capillaries in your skin will rise up, come in contact with sweat glands, which burst, and you bleed out of the pores of your skin, and your skin becomes a very deep bruise. Is that when the teenage girls find out that teenage guys struggle with the pornography, it's not that the girls are all mad at us. They just feel sorry for us that we can't relate to women in a more interesting way, because as a guy, the pornography as a guy is the perfect way for a guy to shoot his future marriage in the head. Because it trains me that girls, they're things to be used for my kicks. She's got to be constantly sexually available, physically flawless, and when you get done bored lusting after, you go to the next fantasy, and it's no big deal at all, because you can judge the value of a woman by how much lust she generates in me. And we would laugh it off. And I'm sure there's some guys in the audience, and in their heads right now, they're thinking, dude, whatever, I got some porn on the internet, and I got some Maxim magazine, it's not a problem, I'm not getting anyone pregnant. And while he laughingly tries to think it's not a problem, almost desperately try to convince himself, what happens to a young guy is he gets emasculated. Emasculation means that when a young man is robbed of the ability to be masculine. And pornography flips that backwards, so we men learn to sacrifice and empty the girls for the sake of ourselves, and we miss the whole point of manhood. And in high school, we would totally laugh it off. We're like, dude, who cares? I'm not getting anyone pregnant, it's all good. I'm not killing it, I'm not hurting anyone. We'd have no clue what we were looking at. You know, Pamela Anderson, the big supermodel for, out in Los Angeles, you know when she first posed for Playboy and she started crying? She finally pulled herself together and they took the nude photos. That when you're looking at porn, you're not looking at just some naked body, you're looking at the corpse of a woman's heart. But we would laugh it off, saying, dude, I'm not hurting anyone. We don't realize how much we're hurting ourselves. You know, Maxim magazine, it's a new smutty magazine they have for guys. You know, Maxim magazine has paid computer companies up to $20,000 a pop to generate fake cover models. I'm not saying she's airbrushed. Her legs are fake. Her face is fake. Her breast is fake. The whole woman is completely computer generated. So we as guys are trained to expect our wives to live up to this impossibly perfect fantasy. And where does this leave our brides one day? I had a friend, and he basically assumed, dude, who cares? I'll throw the porn away when I get married. I'm getting married in a few months. Then you can have sex whenever you want. It's all good. And the guy was divorced in 3 months. All that he did was transfer the fantasies of lust from the porn onto his bride, and the marriage is done as soon as it began. So if you think you're going to get married as a guy and you have the porn, ask yourself one question. Ask yourself, dude, is my bride's body, is it worth waiting to see? Or is she frankly not even worth waiting to see? But I don't think that guys are the problem. I think high school guys are the solution to the entire problem, and I have the research to back me up. They just finished a study of how many high school students are having sex in America, and what they found is this. High school girls, in the last 10 years, your sexual activity rates in America have gone down about 1%. So now 54% of high school girls are virgins. What about high school guys? High school guys in America over the last 10 years, sexual activity rates have gone down 20%. So now the majority of high school guys and high school girls in America are virgins. It's starting to sweep the country. And we're not making up. I saw this at the airport the other day in Newsweek magazine, the new virginity. It's sweeping the country because we want this better kind of love. And to prove to you we all deserve it, having come with me from San Diego is my fiancée, Kristalina, so please give her a warm welcome.
When I was about a sophomore in high school, I had my first serious relationship. And after a while of dating, we thought we were in love and everything was great. And slowly, we started to get very physical. And slowly the pressure started to set into the relationship. And he said, well, girl, if you really loved me, if you truly loved me, you'd prove it to me. You'd show me just how much. Well, if you aren't doing this with him, and if you aren't doing that with him, then I mean, well, what's wrong with you? Everybody's doing it. You love him, right? And I thought, well, yeah, I love him. They said, well, then what's the problem? So at the age of 15, I lost my virginity, thinking it was going to cause this huge, great emotional bond between us. We were going to be on cloud nine and so in love. And in all actuality, it eventually destroyed any love in the relationship, and all respect was just thrown out the window. Because if I couldn't even respect my own body, how was he supposed to respect it? And after a while of dating, it seemed like he didn't want to spend time with me anymore. He was basically spending the time with my body. Now, when a girl is being used, she knows it. She knows it in the depths of her heart. She may deny it, she may ignore it, but she knows it, and I knew it. And after a while, we were constantly fighting. He was cheating on me, and we broke up and went our separate ways. Now, I will never forget the day when he walked away from me for the very last time. And as he walked away from me, all I could think about was that guy's taking something with him that never belonged to him in the first place. But I can't get it back, right? What's the point? It's already gone. So there I was in the cafeteria talking with my girlfriends. And I came to this conclusion, okay, if a guy can date me for about 6 months without sleeping with me, then he must love me. Then I'll sleep with him. And I think now 6 months, 6 months is the price that I put on my body. If he gives me just a little bit of that time and just a little bit of that attention, that's the definition of love. And I carried this mentality all through high school. So Jason here waited 27 years for his future bride. In 2 weeks, we're getting married. I can't stand up here and say, on those Friday nights, on those weekends I was out partying with my friends, I held myself back for love of him. That I was respecting my body for love of my future husband, because I wasn't, and that's a lie. And I can stand up here and I can look in your eyes, all of your eyes. But every day for the rest of my natural life, I will look into those eyes. And it tears me up that I allowed someone to rob him of a gift that was meant solely for him and no other.
Never sit still.
Now,
my brother and I, when we were kids, we'd play this game called lava, right? You take all the cushions off the couch and you like throw them on the floor, and you have to jump from cushion to cushion. You jump on a cushion, you jump on the cat, you jump on a cushion. Yeah, you still play? Okay. You can't step between or like you die. And unfortunately, some girls date like that, where they go from boy to boy to boy to boy to boy. By the time the girl gets to college, she has no clue who she is, because she's defined her whole identity by the boy she's been clinging to for emotional security. Maybe she confuses their physical affection with love. Maybe she's looking for love her dad never gave her. But either way, a girl needs to find her independence as a woman by the side of Christ. Then she can receive and give the kind of love that she's been longing for. Sounds like it makes sense. But what happens is this. If we guys are very visual when it comes to sexuality. And if we see a girl walking down the street dressed like this, let's say she's got one of those new short skirts they have that you can mistake for a wide belt, you know what I'm talking about? They're like belly buttons sticking out, and her top's made of like saran wrap or whatever this is, and spaghetti straps. And we see her walking down the street. We think that she's trying to tell us, like, hey boys, the greatest thing about me is my body. And we'll look at her and we'll be like, I agree, that's a nice body. But if her sexual value is the first thing that draws me to a woman, I might think that that's the best thing she has to offer. Forget her friends and her dreams and her family. I want to get to know the body. And a guy might say or do whatever necessary to get access to her body. And if she gives him access thinking, oh, maybe he'll like me more, usually what happens is the guy loses respect because he gets bored. He moves on, and she's left there thinking, well, maybe if I'd been skinnier, he would have liked me more. Maybe if I'd done more with him sexually, he would have stayed longer. He might not have stayed longer, but he would have used her longer, but her heart's made for better kind of love. We all know the pressures go both ways. But with modesty, I'm not saying, like, girls, I want you to look as ugly as physically possible. I don't want you girls, like, show up at your prom, like, with this, this huge dress on, and your boyfriend sees you. He's like, modesty, wow, girl, you're looking good there in your shapeless plaid ankle-length jumper, hey, that's a nice potato sack, stay home. modesty does not mean a girl tries to look ugly. It doesn't dampen down your allure. Modesty means a girl takes the beauty of womanhood and uses it to teach men about her dignity. Because I tell you, I never knew how to treat a girl till I dated one in college who dressed modestly. And it was captivating. Because you could take her seriously as a woman because she wasn't trying to constantly make boys gawk at her body so she'd feel secure. And she had a good figure. She could have dressed like, hey boys, check it out. But the way she dressed said like, hey boys, frankly, I'm worth waiting to see. And under that humility was something radiant you could not get bored with because that girl had that deeper reverence for herself. By the way a girl dresses, by the way a girl dances, you can tell if she wants you to treat her like a gentleman or not. And as Kristalina said, a guy will be as much of a gentleman as a woman requires. And I'll grant you girls, you have the power to turn a guy's head, but you also have the power to turn a guy's heart. All the belly button shirts that are out there, I beg you as a guy not to wear the belly button shirts because a guy's belly button is very different than a girl's belly button, okay? Like a guy's belly button, for one, it's not that exciting. I mean, there's probably lint coming out, you know? Just being honest, you know, we're in Oakland and I said that at a high school. I'm like, there's probably lint coming out. I look over, there's a freshman girl over here and she's like, I'm like, you're checking for lint, aren't you? And she's like, ah! You know, she was mortified. It was pretty funny. But the girl's belly is different because that area is the womb. And it is priceless. It's a treasure. It's a mystery. So you veil what demands the reverence. On our wedding day, she's going to have a veil. Because she's dirty? No, but I'm not going to lift the veil and be like, I promise to, you know, you're dirty. You veil the bride because she's priceless. You go into a Catholic church, you got a tabernacle there. You open the doors of the tabernacle, you got a veil there before the Eucharist because behind those gold doors is heaven itself, Christ and the Eucharist. It's sacred. The body's a temple, Holy Spirit's a temple, so you veil it because it demands the reverence. And all the belly button shirts, if you want a guy to think you're special, that you're intelligent, that you're worth respecting, showing us your belly button won't help because we guys are so visual. And I'll grant you girls, you know, it's so hard as a guy to be pure nowadays with our thoughts. We need your help. Guys don't like to ask for help. Culture basically tells girls, first day of high school, girls, look, you've got something the guys like, better than notes, better than getting shoved into. You've got your body. You can give it to a guy. Guys will like you more. So the girl begins with this mentality, okay, let me get this straight. Hooking up and making out different guys at the party, that's not a big deal. Then she thinks, well, doing this with a guy, it's not a big deal. Doing that with a guy, it's not a big deal. But so long as I technically stay a virgin, I'm being good. Because those girls at school are so much worse than I am, so I'm still being good, and that's not a big deal. And by the time it's said and done, this girl convinces herself that the priceless gift of her body, it's not a big deal. Something starts to die in the girl. I read about this guy, I think he lived in Texas. This dude was sleeping, and his dog started barking. Comes to the backyard, and the dog is there barking at a bush in the backyard. And the guy's like, well, that would be a bush. That's brilliant. Shut up. Go to bed. He goes to sleep. Dog starts barking at the bush again. 15 minutes later, guy gets up. He's all mad. Brought a stick with him into the backyard. Says, come here, Pooch. And smack. And the guy actually beats the dog into submission to shut it up from barking at the bush. Went back to sleep. It's like 2:45 in the morning. Dog starts freaking out, growling at the bush again. The guy threw a fit, cocked a gun, came into the backyard. This guy actually shot and killed the dog in the backyard and went peacefully to sleep. Then what happened is the robber who was hiding in the bushes got out of the bushes, walked over the body of the dead dog, came inside this guy's house, apparently killed him in his sleep, and robbed everything that he owned. And that dog is our conscience. And I've said to my conscience, dude, shut up. Don't remind me I shouldn't be doing this with this girl. Dude, shut up. Don't remind me I shouldn't be looking at this. Dude, shut up. And then I kill the voice, do it anyway for the sake of excitement, and I think I'm free. I'm not doing what my parents want. I'm free. And then I think, dude, if I'm so free, why am I so empty afterwards all the time? This is freedom. And it can lead no way that we're going to live together before we get married. You know, shack up and cohabitate. You know, some couples live together, they play house for a little while, test drive each other, then they get married. You ever check out what their divorce rate is in marriage for couples who cohabitate then marry? They have a divorce rate of 8%. 8 out of 10 of them get divorced because they don't know what makes love work. They think you can just test drive each other. So we're not going to shack up. Number 2, no way are we going to sleep together before our wedding night. If I had sex with Kristalina tonight, I would be lying to her. My body would be saying, I give myself totally to you. I belong completely to you. Everything that I'm giving is yours. But it'd be a lie. I don't belong to her. I'm not her husband. Love means even if my intention, what is best for your beloved. And I ask you, is it best for Kristalina to wake up tomorrow morning thinking, am I going to be 2 weeks pregnant on our wedding day? Is my mom going to find out? Am I going to get disease? Am I getting used? Is it best for a girl to put her through these fears? It never is. So why are we abstinent? It's not because we're afraid of pregnancy or disease. It's because of love. It is so simple because love can wait to give. but lust cannot wait to get. And if you're in a sexually active relationship, you can take the sex out and you can see if there's love there. We did this where we thirdly, and this is huge, no way on earth are we going to put her body on birth control and contraception. How disrespectful could I possibly get to a woman's body to treat it like fertility is a disease, so we got to give her shots and pills so I can neuter her, so I can have lifeless love with her? You know what your doctors do not tell teenage girls about the pill? How many girls, when they gave you the pill, or Depo-Provera, that shot which neuters you for a couple months, did they ever bother to tell you, girl, oh, here's your pill, oh, and by the way, if you have 3 sexual partners in your life, you're 15 times as likely to develop cervical cancer. And if you're on the pill, this is worse, because the pill allows cancer-causing agents to have access to your body. Oh, and also, by the way, the pill also harms your immune system, so you're more likely to get sexually transmitted diseases. Do they tell you this? No. Do they ever tell the girl, oh, here's your pill? Oh, and by the way, if you take this for an extended period of time before ever having kids, you are increasing your odds of developing breast cancer. Do they tell the girls that? No. Do they ever tell the girls this? Oh, here's your pill, and this one's the kicker. Do they ever tell the girls, oh, here's your pill, oh, and by the way, as a teenage girl, as a woman, your uterus is between, the lining of your uterus, the endometrium, is between 5 and 13 millimeters thick. But don't worry, once we get you on the synthetic hormones of the pill, we'll thin out the lining of your uterus to about 1 millimeter, which means if you get pregnant on the pill, don't worry, the pill will abort your child before you ever know that you're pregnant. So if you're a guy sleeping with a girl who's on the pill, you could already be a daddy, having aborted the kids that you didn't know you ever had because your girlfriend was on the pill. They don't have all the sexually transmitted. You may be wondering, well, Jason, if you guys aren't going to use contraception in marriage, what do you have, like 47 children? Well, probably not. But if we need to space out kids, we're going to use something called natural family planning. It's 99% effective in spacing out kids, totally natural, and couples who use it have a divorce rate of like 2%. There's so much wisdom in the church. But when it comes like
this is the most important thing of all. If you want to have pure relationships, a pure mind, you've got to have a pure soul. That is the key to it, to go to confession. Go to confession at least once a month. Jason and I, we go every 2 weeks. And I really think it was the power of confession that healed me of all of my sexual sins, and I was able to stay away from that lifestyle because there's such power in that. And I see confession as this. Confession is God's mercy. In that room with that priest is God's mercy. And if you turn your back on confession, you run from confession, it's like you're running and turning your back on God's mercy. So to go and get that clean slate. And I tried everything under the sun to stop living that lifestyle. I was miserable, I hated myself, and nothing stopped me. I tried everything. But the second I did this with God, that's when my life did a 180, and I haven't fallen since then. So if you truly want to live out abstinence, chastity, living a life of purity, you've got to do it with God, or frankly, you won't do this at all. And you'll fall on your face just like I did. So give your lives to God, and He will bless you abundantly.
Now, we've been able to explain certain things today, but the one thing I know we can't explain to you honestly is the peace and the joy that come from chastity. It's worth more than all the pleasures of the world. And when you bring the gift of purity into a relationship, you bring Christ into the relationship, and there's so much peace, and that purity will be your super glue. You will have romance without regret, and you can fall in love for the right reasons. If there is only 60 seconds I have to speak to you today, this is the only thing I would even bother telling you. That if after this talk, your heart is a little heavy, you got some thinking to do, all you have to know is one thing, and that is how God looks at you for doing that stuff.